Hello, this is Compound Interest Stock Guy, and today we're going to be talking about Halo Labs announced a strategic partnership with High Tide for exclusive distribution of Dab Tabs home preparation kits. So stay tuned. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the bell down below, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. I wanted to disclose I'm not a financial advisor. This is just for entertainment information purposes. Do not buy or sell based on anything I talk about in this video. Buy after or sell after you did your research, due diligence. So Halo Labs and High Tide are very undervalued in my opinion based on revenues. They're both not profitable yet as far as a net income, but I think they're moving in the right direction. I think that come in the next 12 to 24 months, I think they're going to get to a point where they are going to be profitable on their own. I think Halo Labs is probably going to get there before High Tide, but that's just my suspicion. But yeah, I think they're based on their price to sales for Halo Labs, based on their revenue of 8.7 million last quarter, and times it by 4 on a annual basis, and I think their revenues will be bigger next quarter and the quarter after that and on. So this is a low estimation in my opinion. It's around what is the number? It's 2.35 price of sale. So they're set around like 46 million USD, and their market cap's it's like 109. And yeah, because 8.7 million, and you do the conversion to Canadian dollars, that's what it equals, around 11.5 million. So then it's like 46 million per quarter, per year, I mean. And then based on their market cap being 109 million, that's the price of sales. And then with High Tide, their market cap's 77 million, and they did 5 million last quarter, or like a little under. So like maybe 4.7 million, but I'm rounding them up. And I think they're probably going to do around 20 million at least this year. So this is like a low estimation. They could do 30 million or 35 or 40. So based on what their market cap is, if they're at around like a 3.75 price of sales, maybe 3.85, which is under 4, which is pretty low comparative in the space when you got companies such as Kronos and some others that have price to sales anywhere up from like 75 to 200 or more, or 300. I haven't looked at Kronos recently, but it's always been in the hundreds, like 200, 300. Aurora they did 60, 65, so that's like 260 million, and then their market cap's around 11 billion, so there's somewhere around like 40 price of sales. So that's still really high. So when you look at these guys are really low, and they're growing the revenues fast, I believe. So these are the companies that you want to look at if you're looking at small cap cannabis companies that could be medium sized, big size players in the future. I mean, obviously they'll never be the size of Canopy or Aurora unless some crazy thing happens, but they are still going to be medium sized players. They're going to get to that level, and they're still on the cusp. Like High Tides and Halo is just kind of on the cusp. I'd say a medium-sized player is a company that does anywhere from 10 to 20 million dollars, and then a top tier or large cap kind of in the cannabis space is any company that does anywhere from like 20 million onwards per quarter. So those are the bigger players in my opinion, and some of them aren't even that expensive when you look at like Kush bottles. Obviously their profit margins aren't the same as Charlotte's Web, but anyways, we'll get into this article. So they did the first phase of the collaboration with a rollout of in-house dab tabs. So dab tabs is some type of product that Halo Labs has, and they're getting traction in the U.S. And they can pre-fill dab tablets with measured doses of either cannabis or cannabinoid, but Doyle CBD. Dab kits position Halo and High Tide, penetrating their home preparation market. And this partnership will have product throughout Canada, USA, and Europe, and will be the first of many products that the companies will launch jointly. Well, that's awesome. I read this just briefly, but I didn't see this is the first of many products. That's really exciting for both these companies to get some good synergies going together. That's going to help their revenues, and I really think that's awesome. I'm truly excited about this partnership that will strengthen Halo's presence within the United States and expand to Canada and Europe. So now that these companies want to get into Canada and Europe, well, High Tide's already been in Canada, but for Halo to get into Canada is a big step because they were just primarily a USA player, and they're expanding. They started, I think, in Oregon, and now they're getting to Nevada and California. So they're really getting themselves around in the big states and in Canada, and then Europe's going to be the next spot, which is going to grow really big. With Halo being the product producer and High Tide being the hardware, the potential is endless. As I was kind of alluding to, that's basically what it comes down to. Absolutely, these joint synergies are going to really ramp up their revenues. And the High Tide CEO says he's excited because High Tide, they say their strengths in e-commerce and global wholesale distribution network, and Halo is a labs and with extraction kind of capabilities. So they say that this full spectrum cannabis that's cleaner and simpler than the traditional dabbing. Yeah, they're saying that Halo already has a notable footprint. So I was probably one of the first people with Scott Sycamore. He's the one that told me about Halo Labs to begin with. But I was one of the first people for sure on YouTube to bring Halo Labs. And I brought some really good information with Halo Labs. I got lots of videos, like at least 2 or 3 videos on Halo Labs that are pretty long. I mean, they're not exclusively with Halo Labs. I talk about other stuff, but these are some really good content if you want to learn more about Halo Labs. And because Scott Sycamore, this guy, he's like all in pretty much on Halo Labs because he knows that extraction is big time the future. And then if you think about he just knew that Halo Labs was going to be big, and that was smart of him because they're really growing to be big, and their market hasn't really grown too much. So it's just kind of kicking around. This is in US dollars, and they're on the NEO, but because they're just on the NEO, nobody really knows about them. But I think in the next 12 to 24 months, I was talking to Scott about this earlier today. I think that they could easily reach a $2 to $4. Will they stay at that level? Not sure, but they could also get acquired. But basically, when they're at like 70 cents, that equates potential 3 to 6 bagger on Halo Labs at the present levels. Just with their, if they're doing 8.7 million US right now, and they're getting into Canada soon, I mean, who knows? Maybe they're gonna build a manufacturing lab in Canada soon in the next 6 to 12 months, and they get licensed, and then they're doing as much product as what MetaPharm Labs is doing right now, because there's going to be a lot of demand for concentrate products with edibles and all that stuff. So they're going to be in demand, and because they have so much experience and knowledge, that the potential is very huge. So who's to say that they're not going to get up to 20 to 30 to 40 million per quarter in the next 12 to 24 months, just based on their kind of growth cycle and just the amount of profits they could eventually generate. And as far as High Tide going, they're like around $5 million per quarter, but they're going to have more retail stores. And now with this added stuff, and their High Tide's going to get into USA as because they're working with the synergies with HALO Labs, so they're going to be in the USA. I think this is just the start of what they could be doing, but I know for sure that High Tide, I think they already have some glass stores, or at least the online store in America, but they're gonna, because they're on the CSE, they don't give a F that they're gonna trade that they're gonna be dealing with illegal cannabis. In as far as whereas Aurora and Canopy, they need to be very legal and worry about all those things, but High Tide doesn't have to. So they could start up dispensaries, like they could start like 5 or 10 dispensaries in the next like maybe 4 to 12 months, and that would really add a lot of revenues to them. I mean, when I just did a quarterly review, but True Leaf has 26 stores, and per store they're averaging around like 1.8 million per quarter. So that's like 7 million, and that's in US dollars. So that's like 10 million Canadian. So if they added like another 5 to 10 stores in USA, and even if they did 50% of that, that's still pretty decent. So even if they're doing like 3 million for each store, they could add 5 to 10 stores and add another 15 to 30 million dollars per year. And that's just going to be the start of them becoming a medium-sized dispensary company in USA, but as well they're gonna be big in Canada and eventually in maybe in Europe. So I think High Tide, for the price that they're at 77 million, I think there's a lot of growth for them. I think they could, in the next 12 to 24 months, I think they could reach a 250 to a 750 million market cap, to be honest. I mean, whether they get acquired by Afria or another bigger company, that will eliminate the growth trajectory, but that's my opinion. And yeah, I mean, especially at the levels of High Tide, it's gone down a bit. I have shares. I have 1,000 shares at 44 cents, so I'm even underwater about like 10 to 15%, but I don't care, because eventually it's going to go to like 75 cents. So it's going to go to $1.50 or $2, and I'll be heavy in the money. So it is what it is. Anyways, I hope you like this video. I hope you feel it was very valuable for your knowledge in the cannabis industry. I try to bring the best information because I think I'm very knowledgeable about this industry. I say I'm one of the top knowledgeable people in the cannabis industry. If you want to listen and learn about this industry, stay tuned, subscribe, and until next time, peace.